So you're probably wondering to yourselves if I trespassed as much if I ever got caught, and the answer is yes. I got caught a few times and it wasn't a big deal, and then in August 2014 I got caught really bad and got in a lot of trouble. I got caught in an abandoned house, and I didn't know that every time I set furniture up, it was almost like leaving my business card, because it was kind of like my signature. So, long story short, I got caught, and the cop had Google searched me, and he saw the pictures I had taken, because I had gone to the house a couple other times, this particular house, and the cops had been there because the property owner had called them, because he was like, I don't know if I'm going crazy, but my house is clean, the furniture's all set up, I don't know what's going on. So the cops had to go in and take pictures of the crime scene. So when he Google searched me and I hadn't taken all the pictures down from when I had shot there previously, he found my setups and he compared them to his pictures and what he saw in the house, and he put a warrant out for my arrest, and I had to turn myself in. And I got arrested, and it somehow, my arrest was on the news in my area, but then it became national news, and then it became international news. And it was the most surreal moment of my life. I didn't understand what was going on. I was like, is this that weird? Because I had shot some people nude there. I had shot some engagement photos there. I had used the house like a handful of times to take photos. And for some reason, media outlets just had a field day with it. And I'll have to admit, while it was happening, I was very scared. And in my area especially, there's a lot of really catty photographers, very jealous. They're cool with you if you're on their level, but once you start kind of breaking away, then they're not so cool with you. So I had other photographers calling the cops on me, like telling them all this stuff. It was hard because, I'd see thousands of people in public forums on Facebook and photography forums just saying terrible things about me, like people I've never met, people I've never spoken to. And I'm always nice to people, I always help people, and I pretty much keep to myself. I never hurt anyone. And that was very hard. It was scary, because going to abandoned places is starting to get pretty popular. I thought that I was going to be made an example of. And I have to admit, when the news was publishing it, they would show my pictures, they would put my website address. So it was free advertising. So it actually worked in my favor, but between getting arrested and having to go to court, it was really scary. And because people were saying horrible things, things like she needed to be knocked down a couple pegs, and finally she's going to stop taking pictures, maybe she'll finally stop. It actually fueled me, it fueled my fire. And so between getting arrested and going to court, I didn't want to trespass anymore, because I didn't want to get into more trouble that would have made issues way worse. But I was like, I need a way to take pictures and post them so people know that I'm not quitting. Like, nothing will ever make me quit taking photos until I'm dead. So that's when I started doing my self-portraits. And the first self-portrait I took, I went out to my backyard, and there was these little dead stick things, I don't even know, from some kind of plant. Because it was in like September, when all the flowers and all the leaves start dying. And I put it on, I did my own makeup and I made it look like a mustache. And I ended up, kind of making caricatures of myself, kind of making fun of myself. I did some where it looked like I was crying. I did some that looked like I was scared. I did one of someone that reminded me of this woman that gossips. So I put these things in my lips and made really big red lips, and I made my eyes tear up, and I'm holding a phone. And the one of me as a clown, I mean, during that time period where I'm on the news, I'm in the newspapers, I felt like a clown. People were making fun of me. They were making fun of the way I looked, which has nothing to do with anything, but people can be really mean. So it was more of a, okay, well, if you can't beat them, join them. And I made fun of myself, and I did all these self-portraits, and I posted them. And once again, the self-portraits, just like all my other photos, was kind of like therapy. It was me just coping with what was happening at the time. And shockingly, a lot of people liked my self-portraits. I would have never imagined that. I never really did up-close portraits before. Or of myself. I hate being in front of a camera. But yeah, it was awesome because I had material to post, but if I hadn't gotten arrested, I wouldn't have been doing that. So it seems as all the bad things that happen to me in life end up becoming good. Because had I never gotten arrested, I probably would have never taken those self-portraits. And I did all of those in my basement. One morning, I came down to my basement. We have a very old New England basement. It's all stone. And I cleared out all the shelves. I completely gutted this little room. And I was like, I'm going to take pictures down here. And sure enough, yeah, that is how my self-portrait started. And I have to say, I'm glad I got arrested. I wouldn't recommend it, and I wouldn't want to do it again. But it definitely worked out for me in the long run. It forced me to do something different, something outside my comfort zone, which is good. And that's the thing, is that you have to look at your work, and you shouldn't hate your work, but you have to look at it and say, I need to do something different. I don't want to keep doing the same thing. And you have to constantly reinvent yourself. A lot of people ask me if I have a favorite photo in the color series, and I really don't. I feel like they all go together, and they just make up this big one collective story. And it was fun doing it, but after a while it was hard because it started to get hot out, and it was just a lot of hard work. Like, I'd be sweating, and it would take me like a full day to do the entire room. And yeah, it was just, at one point, midway through, we had gotten kittens, and the red photo is of my mother, and we brought the kittens down, and they were just like, what the hell is going on? They wouldn't behave. But it was really fun. It was a challenge because I had to make this little box a different color each time, but I also had to make it interesting. I had to make it look different. But all the color photos were shot in the same room. And what really kills me is some people, like on my Instagram, which is Jerzyk photo, some people will comment like, nice use of Photoshop, because they think I photoshopped everything to be the colors that they are. And I'm like, no, I worked so hard on that. Because I'm not big into Photoshop. I don't use it. I know enough to use it how I like. I know enough to get my desired effect. And that's about it. I only probably know about 5% of what there is to know for Photoshop. I am more of I want to do everything in camera. I want everything to be real. So a lot of what you see on my pictures is real. That was really in front of me. I didn't add anything. I didn't take away anything. I didn't construct anything on the computer. So yeah, my color series was very different than any of my other work, and I finished it about 2 weeks ago, And I actually have had it in a couple pictures from the series in a gallery in New York City, which I was very excited about. And I will be showing them in my hometown of Manchester, New Hampshire in October, and I will also be showing them in October around the Boston, Massachusetts area. So the reception on them has been very well, and I'm so happy to have done it. It was a lot of hard work, and I never want to paint again. I don't want to paint ever again. Although I used a spray gun. I did use a spray gun, and it did make everything easier because I would just spray the entire room and then I would spray the furniture. But yeah, I don't want to paint ever again. Next couple projects I'm very excited about. So I have this project called Outside In instead of Inside Out. I know, I'm so clever. But I essentially, in those photos, I set everything up to make it look like natural disasters that happen inside the home. So the very first picture, I have a giant tree that appears like it fell like in someone's living room, and the girl is straddling the tree. And what I do is I go out in nature and I build around these things in nature. So I actually built a wall for that particular picture, and I had a lot of help too. This is the first time that I've worked on photos that I really need help. I've had other photographers ask me like, oh, can I come to a shoot? Like, I'll be your assistant, I can hold stuff, but I really don't have any equipment, and I like setting stuff up myself. So it's not that I'm being difficult or that I don't want anyone there. There's never a need for help. I don't need help with anything. But for this, I definitely do. Like, people helping me lug furniture into the woods. The second photo in that series that I took last weekend is I built a wall in the water. So the wall is actually in a river, and there's furniture in the river, and there's a girl wearing a white dress, and it looks like she's in a flooded house. And I definitely want to do more like that. I had that idea a while ago, and I couldn't wait to do it. And I still have a bunch of ideas for that series. I'm really excited to continue to work on that series. And that came about because I envy people who are very good at taking photos outside in nature. For some reason I can't. My brain doesn't think that way. I need like 4 walls, or I'm a very angular person. I like perspective. So when I go out in nature, when there's trees everywhere, I can't find my perspective, and the lighting is off. And so I was like, well, what if I brought the outside in? That's kind of how I came up with that idea. So I was like, if I'm not good at taking pictures outside, I'm going to compromise, and I'm going to make it look like, that nature is inside a house. So that's basically how I came up with that idea. And I'm very excited to work on it, and I will continue to work on that probably well into the winter, because I want to incorporate snow. We have very colorful leaves in New England where I'm from, so there's a million possibilities with it too. And what I do is when I come up with ideas, I have a notebook, and I'm always writing stuff down. And sometimes I look at the notebook and I go back and I'm like, what was I thinking? That's the dumbest idea. But it's always good to keep notes. Always keep notes. And I don't use other people's photos as inspiration. There's nothing more embarrassing, I think, than photographers and designers and any artists when they create something, but for those of us who are really into the scene, that we can tell the origin of their creation was from another artist. So, I mean, I'm getting on a tangent here, I'm sorry, but that is one thing that drives me nuts lately is, Pinterest, and people have an inspiration folder But it's like, don't copy other people's work. Don't use their ideas. Even, you know, some people are taking 5 ideas from 5 different photographers, but that's still not your idea. And trust me, when you create art that isn't your idea, people will notice. People will know it's not organic. They'll know it doesn't make sense, especially if you're taking elements of ideas from different people. Definitely keep a notebook and think of your own ideas, and you will feel much better. If you ever show your work in a gallery, you'll avoid the embarrassment of someone being like, I saw that picture or something like it somewhere else. So yeah, keep a notebook. Always keep a notebook and always write stuff down. The other project I'm working on is simply called The Room. And that is a room in my basement. Like I said, it's behind me. And after my color series, I didn't really get to use my room as an actual, like, normal looking room. My original idea for it was to make it look like I said before, that term future past. I wanted it to look like a future past kind of house, like a room in a house like that. So, my challenge is much the same as the color series, where each picture I take, I want to look extremely different. My goal is for people to look at it and not realize it's the same space. Because I don't have much money, like I said, I can't afford a studio and whatnot. I have this little 8 by 8 foot space, and I want to make the best of it. So I am a big advocate on it's not the equipment you have. To an extent, you know, you do certain things, you need certain equipment, but it's not the equipment that makes the picture. It's your imagination, it's your heart, it's your experiences that make the picture. So it's so, I know people get discouraged when they don't have the equipment, but you can't get discouraged. I'm living proof that you don't have to get discouraged, especially if you don't have much money, if you don't have much experience. I'm a self-taught photographer. I never took classes in photography. You can do whatever you want to as long as you help yourself. And it's good to have help along the way, but don't always rely on other people. You need to put the burden on yourself. You need to just get up and do it. And it is hard. There's days where I'm just like, oh, why did I decide to do this? Like, I don't really feel like doing it, but you need to push yourself, and pushing yourself will get you where you want to be. You have to have the drive. If you don't have that drive, you're never going to make it anywhere. And you have to self-assess, and you have to be critical of yourself. You can't always pat yourself on the back, and you have to be able to take criticism. Even around that period of time when I got arrested and I said people were saying horrible things about me on the internet, some of the things, despite being very mean, they had some truth to them. Like some people, I would see comments about, oh, all she ever does is take pictures of nude girls in abandoned buildings. And even though they meant that to be malicious, I thought about it and I was like, that is sort of all I do. I probably have to start doing something else. Like, I need to start thinking of other things. I'm not going to stop doing that, but it's good to push yourself and do something different.